All right, let's get started today. We're here to talk about unlocking global growth and looking at billing and tax strategies for international expansion. I'm Mark Swanholm, the Vice President of Partnerships and Alliances at BillingPlatform. And with me today is Andrew Halsworth, a solution engineer with Vertex, to talk about the tax side. We're going to cover a number of topics. Start with just an overview of what the big level challenges are. I'll talk about the billing best practices that can counter those challenges. Andrew will talk about the tax considerations following that. And then we're going to talk about our joint partner, Workday, and how a full digital suite can benefit everyone and how we plug into that from both the billing platform and Vertex side. Then we're going to wrap it up. All right, let's look at the challenges that companies face globally. So as you're scaling into new markets, your financial system has to scale with you, right? But you're going to encounter tons of new regulatory and compliance requirements, even new business standards that aren't necessarily requirements, but ways of doing business in the country. Currency exchange rates are always there, and there's tons of complexities, right? And all that adds up to increased risks for your business as you're trying to expand and get more market share globally. One of the best ways to counter that situation and mitigate those risks is really to have a flexible system, such as Vertex and BillingPlatform, that can adapt to those changes and help you steer through those challenges. You're going to meet new ones all the time. It's not a point in time challenge. Things are evolving continuously, whether it's the new e-invoicing regulations rolling out in EMEA, or changes in APAC, or even the United States, where we're looking at some regulatory and compliance changes, and the tax laws are always changing. You need that flexibility as you're going into these new markets and the challenges that they pose to really allow you to adapt in your business on the fly to meet those needs. So we're going to cover those sorts of challenges as we talk through the globalization challenge today. I'm going to jump in and start with the billing side of things. And as you're looking to globalize your billing operation, what do you really need to be concerned about? Well, first, you need to take an honest look at what your processes are today, right? So if you have decentralized processes, multiple different systems, or systems that are rigid and inflexible, maybe pushing you down one way of doing business, that's not going to scale in the global market, right? You're going to meet these new challenges, these new ways of doing business, new requirements for languages on invoices or currency exchange rates, and having all this complexity and these old legacy systems between your front office and your back office just isn't going to work and going to scale. It's going to hamper your ability. So what you really need to do is look at centralizing that around your AR system, right? So you've got the sales team looking to march into these new markets on the front office side. You've got your accounting needs for your global business on the back side. Where the flexibility has to come is in that middle office. And that's where BillingPlatform can really help you. If you're looking at pulling all those things together, having something that's centralized, that's flexible, that can pull in all the changes and translate that, pull in the currency changes, pull in the whatever happens from the CPQ side and how sales wants to go to market, and seamlessly push that through the standards like IFRS 15 or ASC 606 on the back end, you're going to be positioned for success as you look at these global markets, and you're not going to be hampered and taking a long time to get into market. So we see a lot of companies that have legacy systems taking a lot of time as they go through each market. You want to have the ability to rapidly move into a market and understand and change as you get in there, because again, you're going to find that you maybe have it 80% right, but that extra 20% might be critical to your success and your profitability. And if you don't have that flexibility with a single AR system that can really manage that, you're going to have challenges as you go global. No talk about globalization and billing would be complete without talking about payment methods and currencies, because that's a big factor as you're looking into new countries. Local schemes are different for debit. That's an easy one, right? And different gateways support different credit card methods in different countries. But really, as you get deeper and looking into payments and currencies, there are some really hard challenges, right? So authorization rates may vary widely across different markets for different payment methods. You may have to adapt to local payment methods. For instance, South Korea has a number of local payment methods that are much more popular than the standard payment methods you might use in other markets. Do you have a system that can plug into those payment methods, take those payments, and understand how that process is going to work? And at the point when you need to collect the payment, and how you break up the payments, right? So there's tons of things to think about as you're globalizing and having that flexibility around how you're taking payments and how you're managing authorizations. And then, of course, currency exchange rates can be a killer. If you're not managing currency exchange rates and you're billing in the local currency, but trying to account for it in your home currency, you can have vast effects on your profitability, right? So you need a system that's flexible enough to understand how to manage and push things out in the local currency and local language, but also understand the FX rates and pull those into your calculations so you can understand when you want to bill and what currencies you want to bill and how that all rolls up into one AR subledger globally or multiple AR subledgers globally, right? And then, of course, the regulations around how you're taking payments and how you're pushing out invoices can come into play as well. And we'll hear more about that when Andrew talks on the Vertex side. But e-invoicing or local tax regulations need to be plugged into that payment and that invoicing process as well. So definitely a lot of moving parts. Again, key being flexibility to pull all that through and managing that in one system, right? So if you can automate that, take in anything you need to from the sales side, but be able to, with confidence, take the payments, account for the payments, account for the currency exchange, it's one less thing you have to worry about as you're going global. And then the last big topic I wanted to cover on the billing side is really something that affects you wherever you are in whatever market, but it just amplifies as you go globally, and that's lack of automation. So if you don't have your processes automated, going back to that first slide I showed, you're going to be hampered at every step of the way, right? So if you have to manually create invoices or manually push out invoices to tax authorities or manually do currency exchange, each one of those things is going to hamper your ability to get into a new market and make it profitable for you. Your processes can't get in the way. Your sales team is going out and trying to adapt to this new market and adapt your products and sell into that. You don't want your bottleneck to be your finance system. So you need to have that fully automated so that as you're introducing new products and services, there's no delay, right? And get those bills out. You might be looking at those different authorization rates and how do you do a different dunning strategy. You need to automate that dunning strategy if those authorization rates are lower in a new market, right? So you need to understand and be able to flexibly adapt that and create the automation that will really seamlessly move from your sales motion into your billing motion. And then push that on downstream to your ERP so that you can have that holistic system so you're not being a barrier in the finance team into how you go into a new market. It's a lot of changes, a lot of things happening on the fly, regulation changes, new requirements come out in markets all the time in terms of how you bill customers and how you can get paid. If your bill isn't the right format, you might not be able to get paid for it, right? So you need to have a system that can adapt to those changes and automate that to make sure that you have a seamless AR process throughout the globalization march. All right, so I'm going to pass it over now to Andrew to talk a little bit about the tax side of things.
Thank you, Mark, and hello, everybody. I'm Andy Halsworth from Vertex in the UK. Here at Vertex, I'm one of our solution engineers working with many of our global customers. By background, I'm a VAT specialist. I've worked at Big Four, Big Six companies back in the day. I've also felt the pain of being in-house to help my organizations manage their tax and manage their business alongside that. I spent a lot of my advisory career talking to US entities moving into Europe and helping them prepare for the possible pitfalls of doing that, often digging them out of the pits they've fallen into, but ideally preparing them to hit the ground running, to expand their business. And I'm going to talk about some of these areas now and where things like automation can come in. And from my point of view, and I will largely talk from the point of view of tax and finance, it's a combination of a couple of particular areas that come together to get you ready for success. It's understanding what you're getting yourself into as you look to go global, making sure you're prepared to meet those challenges. And for reasons that will become even more clear as we proceed through this, automation is really, really important in VAT world and nowadays. So I'll talk a little about how these three key elements come together. On the right-hand side there, the whole concept of this webinar is about driving business growth. I think the metaphor is pretty clear there. If you trip over before you even hit your stride. A theme I'll come back to, traditionally in-house tax people like me, we used to be seen as the you can't do that people. We're stopping business from growing. It's the other way around nowadays. Tax people, we want to be seen to be paving the way for success and being ready, being prepared, understanding what you're getting yourself into is really key to helping this business growth. We're not just a cost center anymore. We're here to help drive business. So understanding the terrain, what you're getting yourself into. A few fundamentals that, if not already embedded, always good to remember. VAT, for example, is not the same as sales tax. VAT there in inverted commas, VAT, GST, transaction tax, consumption tax, goes by many different names across the world, but it's indirect taxes, transactional taxes. For sure, if you approach the world of VAT with a sales tax mind, you will trip up before too long. In the same way that if you're in Pennsylvania and you start doing business in Colorado, there are some differences you're going to have to cater for. And trust me, I'm a UK VAT specialist by background, but that doesn't mean I automatically know the French system as well. I may have a fair idea of how the French system is likely to work, but there's always nuance waiting to trip you up if you're not wary. Now, I think for those of you who are based in the US, something that has helped the understanding in recent years, you may not realize this immediately, but the Wayfair case, the concept of economic nexus in the US, you don't need to have bricks and mortar stores to have nexus in a state. It's always been like that in VAT world. You don't ever need to visit a country to have VAT requirements in that country. Can easily be overlooked. Always take into account the local rules, seek local advice where possible. And what kind of rules do businesses find themselves impacted on? A couple of examples from my own experience in the background here. The world of goods and the world of services, they operate quite differently and they have different pitfalls associated with them. If you're dealing with goods, it's very easy to accidentally give yourself an exposure to VAT, to bring yourself into a country where you weren't planning to be, to give yourself VAT requirements, possibly even to drag your whole company onshore for interrogation purposes, as it were, from the local tax authorities. Very easy for sales guys to put themselves in the middle of a multi-party transaction to buy something locally and sell it on locally without ever touching the ground. It has a VAT consequence. If you're being nice to your customer and you say, sure, I'll import these goods into your country to make it a bit easier for you, it may sound nice, it may give you a VAT requirement you weren't quite expecting. One big difference between the world of VAT and sales and use tax, everybody knows in the US, sales tax incurred is a cost to a business. In VAT is not meant to be a cost to most businesses. Businesses have the ability to get the VAT back from tax authorities, but you have to do everything correctly. You're at risk of not getting the VAT back that's due to you. And of course, VAT world, rates can go up to as far as 27% in Europe. If you're missing out on getting 27% of your cost back, your profit margins run out pretty quickly. Services, the converse to goods. Services are very difficult to pin down. Where are they when they're being sold? Difficult to tell. Tax authorities are really smart on this nowadays, especially if you're selling B2C, especially if it's a digital service or a streaming service, something of that nature. Very easy for tax authorities to put in legislation to say, you now need to pay VAT for sales to local customers. These rules were initially put in to catch the kind of the Netflixes and the Spotifys and the Apple Musics of this world, but they apply to everybody. Anyway, more and more countries enacting this kind of legislation, giving business more requirement, if that's the right word, to set up in locations where they just weren't expected to for VAT purposes. And if there's one thing the VAT likes, it's lots of compliance, reporting and the like. Understanding what you're getting yourself into there, again, really, really key to success. Here are just some examples of the sorts of reportings that you'll be finding yourself dealing with. VAT returns, similar to state and local returns in the US. Monthly, bi-monthly, annual returns as well. A summary of your activity in that period. Even in the EU, which is one big trade bloc that runs on a similar basis, very different reporting requirements. In Ireland, you're filling in 5 boxes. In Italy, you're filling out hundreds of boxes, potentially. Very, very different, even in very similar tax jurisdictions. On top of that, you may find yourself with statistical filings, things called intrastats, track movements of goods across border, detailed statistics around net weights, number of units, commodity code, mode of transport. Very easy to miss these requirements if you're not understanding the terrain and prepared to meet it from the outset. In inverted commas there, more tax authorities are producing more ways to enable, if that's the right word, business to get data to them. Standard audit file for tax, large amounts of data expected by tax authorities. The SII in Spain, more data than ever before, expected every 4 days or so. Real-time reporting in places like Hungary, it does what it says. They expect data to be with them almost instantly. More and more layers of complexity of compliance that if you don't get these sorted, you're at risk of damaging your customer experience or your relationship with the tax authorities, or just plain getting VAT wrong. So things like checking customer VAT IDs, really important to make sure that you are getting your exemptions correct. Without that VAT ID, you're at risk of tax authorities coming and taking a VAT amount off you. Getting invoices looking right and having the right tax amount on them, the right wording. Without it, you're at risk. And more, and we'll come back to this as well, e-invoicing. It's the big thing in VAT world and in the US as well. Governments wanting details of your invoices to be sent to them as you raise them. In some countries, if it's not signed off as being appropriate for the mandated e-invoicing, you're not allowed to ship your goods. Really, really important part of the jigsaw puzzle in making VAT work. I'm just going to give one example, again, from my own experience that kind of highlights some of this. If you look at the diagram here, as a non-local company, it's very easy for a sales guy to find a customer, let's say in the UK, in this example, who wants you to provide them with goods. You know what? You know a few vendors here or there. Rather than sourcing them from my New Jersey warehouse, I know a guy in the UK. He can supply those goods, and I will just take a nice healthy profit in the middle. It's not the way VAT works. Because those goods are located in the UK, the moment, even if it's only a fraction of a second, that the US Inc. in this example takes title to those goods, that company is making supplies of goods within the UK. It is immediately within the scope of UK VAT. There are registration thresholds, but normally fairly low. But what does that mean? You're going to need to register for VAT locally. You're going to have to charge VAT. You're going to have to report locally. You need to start thinking about the VAT on your costs. Am I managing them properly to enable me to get them back? Am I ready? If I'm not prepared to set up a separate legal entity, maybe it's the US Inc. itself. It's a branch of the US Inc. That might give the tax authorities some view into my US income. It's just not what tax and finance want for the business. Taking it back to my own advisory days, I would often advise on this sometime after this event had happened. What does that mean? Missing registration requirements, having backdated tax. Backdated tax comes with penalties. It comes with interest. It comes with going back to your customer to see if they're now happy to accept a backdated VAT charge. It all hits the growth of business in those locations. It can damage customer experience. It can put a real grind on growing the business as you want. All of a sudden, you've got people managing tax authority queries rather than just paving the way for easy movement into that location. The UK is quite pragmatic. As you go around the world, you will find tax authorities less pragmatic. I know I've certainly worked with some European countries where if you made this mistake, you are never going to get that VAT back that you incurred from your local suppliers. That's the that's the way it goes. And again, VAT, anything up to 27% in Europe, a potential large amount of money wrapped up with that. As I mentioned, in-house tax and finance people, we've started to evolve the way we see ourselves. Now, in the past, we were the gatekeepers, if you like, making sure the bad things didn't happen. Now, we're here to help pave the way for business. In the diagram there, some of those things I talked about before, these new challenges that come with more reporting. But you know what? Nowadays, lots of tax and finance people, we're genuinely seeing these opportunities. We have to meet these requirements that are laid down by the tax authorities. But you know what it does? It gives us the ability to make sure the whole of our business is prepared. Reporting is one thing, but you need to have your data right ahead of time. If I can prepare ahead, see what's coming, understand what's needed in the countries I'm looking to move into, then I can lay a platform, a framework, so that tax and finance is ready to hit the ground running in that country, so business can get on with doing business. And again, understanding preparedness ahead of the game equates to speed to market, equates to business growth. So anybody from a tax and finance background out there, you don't need me to tell you this, what we've always been very good at is staying close to the business, understanding what the business wants to do so that we can help them be ahead of the game, so that we're ahead of the game in our world to enable that easy rollout. Get a strategy in place, make it consistent, make it repeatable, because if your business is looking to grow, it's looking to grow everywhere. Make it nice and smooth, so the next place you go to is easy to move into. You're there quickly, you're making better profits. Now, you excuse the very old meme here, but it paints a picture. Tax authorities nowadays across the world, they want touchless compliance. Okay, businesses want frictionless commerce. They want as little as possible to get in the way of doing business, getting goods and services to customers, earning income, making profit. And in a slightly perverse way, these are the same thing. The tax authorities don't want people to be spending lots of time massaging figures, paying with Excel, leaving it to chance to get things right. They want your data and your tax data with them as quickly as possible, with as few human touches as possible. And you know what? That works for business as well. The fewer touches, the less manual input, the more correctness, the more accuracy, the better business is going to be for them. So in fact, tax people like myself and companies like Vertex, dare I say, we're really enjoying this new world of tax authorities wanting more data more quickly, because it gives us an opportunity to put procedures, frameworks, demonstrable process in place that's going to allow for ease of transit of data through that system, which also has the benefit of making business that much smoother as well. This all very much comes under the process of automate. And I won't read the bullets, but you'll get the idea here that moving away from people doing stuff, well, paper is probably a bit too old school, but people doing stuff in Excel, massaging data, spot checking queries to see if things were right or wrong. They've historically been slow and costly for business, and very, very well-educated tax and finance people spending a lot of time doing low-grade activities when they should be out there, helping with the higher value activities. Where the tax authorities want to go, data is going to be absolutely key. Data is very quickly after it's happened in front of the tax authorities. And VAT has always been like that, not like direct taxes waiting for year end, no such thing in VAT, very much heading towards immediate, real, accurate, automated, touch-free. So the tax authorities are leading the way in that. It behoves business to get on top of that, but take it to the next level. Make sure you are, because it's going to help your business grow, not just be on a nice footing with the tax authorities. Although that in itself is a good thing. Less scrutiny, less time taken up answering tax authority queries. The world of e-invoicing, in indirect tax world, it's kind of taken the world by storm, and it's kind of, as ever, it's not actually that much to do with tax, but it seems to end up on the tax and finance person's doorstep. At its heart, e-invoicing is just a movement of data electronically from business to government. And more countries, year by year, are saying that they are going to be the next one to roll out an e-invoicing mandate. You don't need to look far in business news or tax news to find this kind of thing. They're mandates. Business needs to get on board with these. So again, touchless, ahead of time, prepared to meet whatever is coming next. And again, none of these countries do things in quite the same way. So being prepared to have to adjust that each different country is going to want something slightly different. But be under no illusion, e-invoicing is growing. B2G has been a thing for quite a while, business to government, that is, but more and more B2B, business to business invoicing, expected to go through government portals as well, real time as those invoices are raised. Need to be on top of it, else you won't be compliant in those locations. And possibly this is where Vertex comes in. We've been renowned for many years for automation, and the way the VAT world is going, the Vertex solutions lend themselves perfectly to that. So whatever your source systems may be, billing platform, Workday, other platforms and ERPs are available. Those are a business's actual business. The sales and purchases and billings and intercompany transactions that go through those systems, they all need to be looked after from a tax point of view for various different elements. So whether it's calculation, getting the tax right, whether it's managing exemption certificates, whether in the US or equivalents in various parts of the world, whether it's managing compliant invoicing for digital services or meeting those e-invoicing mandates, all part of the overall Vertex solution set. So to comply, to make things automated, to make things touchless, but then as we look towards the bottom here, again, not just being compliant for the sake of it, but being partly to help drive business forward, but also that Vertex solution set, looking more and more into data, to get insights from data, and not just to make sure the past is compliant, but to make sure trends can be more easily analyzed, give a better view into the business, not just where it's been, but potentially where it's going. And with that three-prong approach I talked about at the start, understanding, being prepared, and automating, that sets you up for success along these lines. The infinity loop here is deliberate. Things are just going to go on and on and on in a positive way. To break the infinity loop a little, I think it's rather more, companies will find themselves with a choice. It can either be a virtuous circle or a vicious circle. If you get things right, if you get your procedures right, you get your understanding right, you get your automation right, you're on top of your business growth, everything will not work nicely and continue to work nicely. You will expand globally, you'll be compliant globally, you'll have a good, appropriate relationship with governing bodies, you will be reporting appropriately. So you'll be the dream going hand in hand, commerce, making business work, compliance, being compliant, but also helping to drive forward that business as well. The converse of this, if elements of this start to go wrong, the loop breaks, and all of a sudden valuable time from especially finance and tax and perhaps other parts of the business as well will be spent cleaning up mess, dealing with data, doing things manually, distracting from what tax and finance want to be doing and distracting from what the business wants to be doing as well. So this concept of continuous compliance, this is where our customers who are looking to roll out best practices framework, that's where they're going. This is the kind of concept they're keeping in mind. And with that, I think Mark and I will discuss a little, what optimizing the benefits looks like in this world where BillingPlatform, Workday, and Vertex can come together. So where this comes to on a systematized side, if we, I suppose, compare and contrast, that complexity we've talked about, different VAT rates and rules in different locations, reporting requirements, lots of them and all different. Workday is there to help drive your business forward. No doubt about that. But it's not there to act as a VAT calculation machine of its own right. There are some high-level rules in there that might help you, but as a business that is growing both within the US and globally as well, the Vertex solutions can just come in, attach to Workday to make sure that you're driving the right calculations all across the globe in an automated way. And one thing that Vertex is doing as well, it's keeping all those rates and rules up to date all across the globe. So you can be assured, our customers can be assured that whatever jurisdiction they're in, however far away from home it may be, the VAT rates and rules and the reporting that comes off the back of it are there. That as these e-invoicing mandates continue to come up, there is a framework and process to help manage those. So again, moving away from manual process and manual movement of data, moving away from staff spending time on relatively low value activities, instead moving on to automation across that tax life cycle, giving the tax authorities what they want, touchless compliance, and helping business get what it wants, frictionless commerce. And I think with that, Mark, you were going to talk a little about BillingPlatform and the Workday ecosystem.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew, and thanks for all those great detailed examples of how VAT, e-invoicing, and all those mandates are affecting companies as they go globally. All those things you were saying echo the things I mentioned in the first part about billing, right? It's all the mandates, all the changes in the process that you have to understand and have that expertise built into the platform and have that flexibility. And I think, what you can do with BillingPlatform plus Workday plus Vertex is really do all those automations that we both talked about, right? So you can end-to-end take things seamlessly from your front office and the CRM or CPQ side that you're plugging into things as that sales motion happens. Bill for that, take the invoicing, push out, do the invoicing, get the tax calculations correct, right? And then seamlessly push that into the backside on your RevRec, whether that's in BillingPlatform or in Workday, and manage the taxes there, push the analytics out to the Workday platform, right? So that you have full visibility. So combining those three best of breed systems together is really a package for success when you're going global, right? So having that flexibility, having the built-in understanding to how to automate those, how the regulations comply, how you can do payments, how you can do the invoicing and calculate the charges correctly. It's just a way to put yourself on the best footing for success, right? It's not going to solve all the problems for you, right? You're going to have challenges that you meet in the finance department and new things will come up, but you'll be able to adapt to those and make the best analysis of how you can meet those requirements when you have a system that's flexible to do that. And pulling these three systems together really gives you that end-to-end view for the finance team of all those things in one place and have the ability to report on it in an accounting center dashboard on Workday. It's just invaluable as you're moving into new markets. So I think it's a really strong message for folks going globally. The problems and challenges you face are numerous, but it's growth opportunity as you're moving into these new markets, and you really want to take full advantage of it and be the hero. As Andrew said, you don't want to be in the way. You want to be the enabler. Hey, sales, as soon as you figure this out, we're ready to go, right? And that's the message that you need to have. And you're transforming the business by your agility and ability to move into these new markets as seamlessly as possible. So super powerful view of things. And then, I think both BillingPlatform and Vertex are, awesome players in this space, and we work very well together. Whether you're plugging in Vertex to BillingPlatform's billing system or plugging into Workday's, we get that automation back and forth. We can hand off seamlessly during that billing process to calculate the taxes, to push out to the e-invoicing authorities, right? It's just, one less thing for finance to worry about. And, we'd love to talk to you further about how these things can help solve those globalization problems that you have coming as you move into new markets. Thanks for taking time today, Andrew. Appreciate you joining us on the webinar today. It's been great. It's great to work with the Vertex team. You guys have tons of expertise globally. And thanks everybody for joining us today. Hopefully this provided you some information. We'd love to follow up if there's anything that we can do to help you in your globalization journey. So please reach out to both Andrew and I, and we can get you connected with the right folks to talk about all your needs as you globalize.